Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, folks.
Morning.
Good
Morning.
morning, everybody. "10 a.m. came so fast."
Yeah, for real.
Hello.
Morning.
Good. How are you?
Yeah, not bad.
My leg looks like, or my camera, I mean. Super dark. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that off.
Right. How is everyone this fine morning, afternoon for Neil?
Busy. That day consists of replacing SD cards in these guys.
Are they running
That's
out of
fun.
space?
No, it's just they've been in service for like a year and it's like 17 gig at the moment. And you notice they just disappear for a day. So you just have to replace
There's only
them
so many
manually.
writes those cards will take. No. Right. Yeah. Well, we'll give it until 5 past to see if a few late stragglers come in. Anyone do any installs this week or get any Freedom Fight gear this week?
Mm-hmm. Small
Yeah.
cell behind me.
Ah, nice.
Did you get
How's
yours?
it going? Yeah.
It's good. Yeah. Works.
I haven't put it up yet.
Nice.
But you know, I'm spoiled. I've had CBRS at home for over 2 years, so I get to play with it every day. That's not new. It's but yeah, I'm gonna do some popping out to get a Pixel 6 because even though I have a whole room full of phones, I have so many because it's work.
Yeah.
I can't use work phones for doing testing on free fire. Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to giving it a test and seeing how it compares because the small cell that they use is the same one that we use as Solana, so it's just our firmware on our version and their firmware on theirs. So I'm looking forward, to seeing how the performance changes. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
They
Do
announced
want
the
Ricky
outdoor antenna as well, didn't they? For them with
Yeah.
CalCheck. That's good to see.
Yeah, getting buy cells on as a third-party vendor, that means that, there's a lot more choice of radios. And it looks like from the document that Steve shared last night that there'll be more coming too. So that's good. The big news in that, or the big confirmation in that document was Boris confirming that any Helium 5G vendor who joins or creates a product will carry the same traffic. It won't matter. The contracts between the carriers and the network are with Helium, not with Freedom 5. So any vendor who joins or creates a Helium 5G product, they'll get the same contracts. So that's a big deal. Hopefully, we should see some more hardware announcements soon. We shall see. All right, it's 5 past. We may as well start. Good morning, everyone. Well, we're forming a working group to start a day, but I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff to talk about this week. We'll try and keep momentum and speed going on a few things. Let me just pull up the agenda. So first on the agenda is celebrate our first successful vote. So big round of applause to everyone. Consensus isn't easy, and we got 100% agreement across 18 votes. So well done, everyone. That is that's not nothing. It means we're generally on the right path at the beginning. And the decision is to make a working group to figure out how we form today, because it's complicated and no one has all the answers yet. And there's a lot of activity out there in the DAO space with digital product. A lot of them forming around creating DAOs and things like that, but there's not many forming around doing physical things in the real world. And anytime when the digital world butts up against the real world, that's where organization is extremely important. And so that's why the working group, because I think from what I've learned, and I've been doing, I'm sure a lot of you have as well, research on DAOs and things like that, and just getting the rules of how you decide things done is the hardest part, the most important part, the boring part, to be honest. But we've got to do it. We've got to do it up front if we're going to be successful long term. So it is a little tedious. I know. Everyone wants to sort of get down to what can we build and what can we do, and I think there's time for that also. At the same, we can do that in conjunction, but we need this working group to figure out the rules of the road. Griff had some server updates, which we'll get to in a second. New channels probably worth. I'll quickly cover the ones that have appeared in the last week. So we've added the category Shipyards, which is that's going to be for the working groups to talk privately about different things. So you can't see that yet, but I'll open that up in a sec. But basically, this will be non-public. So the people who are in specific working groups, we can decide what they are, but it just gives some, place for everyone to chat and share links and talk about various things that we've got to cover without creating too much noise. And the main sort of public channel is in the Voyages section, which you'll see, and that's the Shipyards there. That Shipyards channel, that's going to be the sort of public channel for the working group to talk to the whole server. Now, there's nothing secret. There's nothing behind closed doors. It's really just to keep things organized and to allow people to have, sort of take discussions into different places that make sense. But anyone who's got any feedback or ideas on that, very, very welcome. That's just our first pass at it as the mods. We've also got some channels there for LoRa mining pools and 5G mining pools, and that's really just a place we can keep those discussions in those channels and keep all that relevant information in that one place. And then Griff, do you want to talk about the self-assigned roles and the Carlbot?
Yeah, first I want to apologize for my camera not loading for some reason today, but I am here, extremely tired, and I had a migraine set in late last night that I'm still working on, but I'll be okay. So we did introduce Carlbot to the server, mostly because it's the bot I know the best, just to make things easiest for me to try to watch over everything. And then in the welcome and rules tab, which I'll flip over to for everyone on the stream, we have a new React roles where you get to assign yourself for various things that you are able to contribute. So if you're asset owner, fleet owner, or if you work in like network planning and software developing, you can go ahead and just click the relevant emojis, and then it gives you those said roles so that we can kind of just keep track of who you are and what you know. And then in terms of the actual Automod behind Carlbot, that's currently turned off because we don't really have a need for it right now. But as the server, or if the server grows, and we will be able to roll that out in the future if needed.
Cool. Thanks, Griff. Yeah, we've got a few people helping out with mod and anyone who wants to, who's got Discord experience, please let us know, and you'd be welcome to help us out. Okay. One thing on the self-assigned roles, are there any roles that people feel are missing? I mean, we've got a bunch, but there's a wide range of different things that we're going to have people do. So that was our first pass at it. One I thought that might be missing is CPI, but if anyone else has got any suggestions, fire away. Cool, happy with that then. I should add CPI because it'd be worth knowing who the CPIs are. All right, Shipyard working group. I added a share my screen. Hang on. Okay, it gives you the option of going 1080 in Discord. People see my people see this the weekly meeting agenda. Great, cool. So collaboration tools. What are we going to use? Do we have Notion jockeys? Do we have Google Docs people? Like, what do people use for their project and sort of documentation? Anyone got any preferences?
I mean, I'm big on Google Docs and Sheets and all their suite of tools.
It's worth asking. I mean, a lot of places, you know, they go Notion or whatever else. I'm a Google Docs fan. It's where I'm happy, but you know, not force anything on anyone. But if we're happy with Google Docs and it's not too controversial, we'll continue on with that. I'm fortunate I've got a grandfathered in enterprise account from way back. I'm so fantastically old. So okay, well, we're going to go Google on that one then. It's a nice little decision.
You are grandfathered an enterprise account?
It's like a free GDocs account for up to 10 users, like full, you know, the full paid for version. Yeah.
Wow. That's
yeah,
awesome.
I know.
You just like casually said that. I'm like, what? Never heard of that.
That's the ancient people of the internet. That's what we get. We were there first. So okay, we'll carry on using GDocs. I'll set up some folders and make things a bit clearer. Let's dive into the working group then. There are I think there are three main areas we need to deal with before we can sort of click go and form the DAO itself. Governance and people. Governance is how we are going to decide what we're going to, you know, how we're going to run the whole thing. And people is the membership, who gets to be members, how, all those kinds of things, because, and I think it's really important for us because we're going to be, you know, managing deployments of equipment. It's, you know, memberships, the sort of core membership of the group is going to be pretty important because, you know, there's going to be responsible decisions being made. It's not to say that when people are minting NFTs, these are not important decisions. They are. It's just, it's different when you're dealing with, you know, you've got boots on the ground and rubber on the road. Funding, grants. Interested to talk about that. Token raise, so sort of something I'm learning more about, but really very much on the edge of my comfort zone. And then the platform. What do we build on? It's like, you know, do you build on an ETH based DAO chain, or do you build on Solana? Now, I see some head shaking already as soon as I mentioned ETH, because no one wants those gas fees. And one thing that I was reading about this week is when I was learning, some more about consensus and things, is in the IEEE, that's the body that decides a lot of the regulations around 5G standards and all those kind of things. They have this thing called consensus by humming. And basically, if the core group is like, well, we think we should do XXX, if they're deciding how a particular part of the 5G standard should work, as long as the rest of the group has seen that in chat, in discussion, in forum or whatever it is, and no one has said, this is insane, we should, this is crazy, what are you thinking about? And that the general consensus is, yeah, it seems fine. Consensus by humming. Go ahead. So it's more of a keep going until someone says stop, rather than should we go? Let's all decide. Should we go? Let's all decide. And one you can see has a much smoother sort of progress. If you're voting on everything as you go along, it can get really slow. But if you're just like, well, the general thing is, this is where we're headed, this is how we've agreed we're going to do it, and unless anyone has any objection, we're on our way. But people can object on the way, or people can, ask questions on the way. It's sort of one of the ways of doing it. But and I think, I don't know what people think. ETH or Sol, that's probably one of the easiest questions. It's like 10 grand to spin up a DAO, or a couple of, 2 Sol, 1 Sol. It's going to be probably an easier decision. But anyway, those are the 3 sort of main areas, I think. Has anyone got any other ideas on areas we should be looking at? All this research is paying off. Okay, so the next thing is if we're happy with those, and what I've done, I'll open those now, actually. Make them visible. Give me a second. Actually, Griff, the Shipyard's channels, can you make them so that they're viewable by everyone?
Yeah, I can go ahead and do that. Did you want just all of them visible?
Yeah. Yeah, they can all be visible to everyone.
All right, give me 1 second.
So we've, I created those channels just to sort of split up that those discussions. And the next question, I guess, would be, what have we got on the agenda? Oh yeah, contributors. My feeling is anyone who wants to contribute should be able to contribute. There should be no gating process on. It's just, we have these tasks, if you can help. But I would imagine that there'll be people in the groups who will be like, okay, well, these are the things that we need to answer. And there might be some other people who come in and go, oh, I can help with this one, I can help with that one. But obviously, there's going to have to be core little teams figuring out what all the questions are for those bits. Has anyone got any particular preference on anything they desperately want to have a hand in figuring out? Yeah, everyone's like, don't give me governance. Has anyone got things they desperately don't want to touch at all?
That's actually an area I'm super interested in, so I think I'm a little bit of an oddball for that reason. But I actually really enjoy the governance side, other than the treasury stuff.
Oh, that's great, because I like that stuff too, weirdly. But yeah,
Like,
so that's 2 of us. Great.
Org design, anything like that. That's super
Yeah.
interesting for me.
But I think generally people should be able to, there shouldn't be any gating to who can contribute at this point. There's really, we need as many contributors as possible. And then the next question was deadlines. Momentum's important. I don't think this should take longer than 2 weeks. That's my personal feeling. But I, open up to the room. I don't know if 2 weeks is too short. 4 weeks is too long.
It's good.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with some governance issues at the moment with some helium work I'm working on. Yeah, it's just taken months. and it shouldn't. You know, they're easy decisions that everyone's behind, but the schedule's just so slow. One of the big problems is the hit process over on Helium is too slow. It needs to react much, much faster. So I'm very keen to see a fast-moving system. You know, you need to react quickly to issues, not delay them.
Yeah, that. I've noticed that actually that these hips get really stuck. What causes that? Is Jesse?
Yeah, it's just mostly this process of consensus, right? Go through and deal with everyone's concerns about it. And a bit that I don't like is the way they do it at the moment is in private Zoom meetings. You know, no one can listen into those meetings. They record them afterwards sometimes,
Right.
And publish them, but it's very one-sided and in the shadows. And I want to make sure that they become public about everything. And this idea of working groups and public working group rooms, you know, maybe not everyone needs to type in there because that become messy. But having an open room that they can read but not write in to see what's going on. So, yeah, very important. It's just slow getting everyone's agreement.
Okay, Caleb, you were going to ask something?
Yeah, I was going to suggest that maybe when we put forward proposals as a work.
Lost you there.
Oh, sorry. I said once we push forward proposals, maybe the discussion channels can be made visible so that people can kind of see where we got from point A to point B.
Yeah, my feeling was that
that's kind of the plan I had with the Discord. You'll be able to see the channels, but you won't necessarily be able to type in them. That way, at a bare minimum, you can read everything that happens, and then if you'd like to truly raise concerns, you can always just mention it in another chat, like general, and just say, "Hey, I have a couple questions about what's going on in this channel," and then we'll be able to respond to you then.
Yeah, I think you know, if we've got the main Shipyard channel, which public, everyone can post on that and discuss things that are happening. That should be where that can take place, or in general, it doesn't matter. I mean, as long as one of us who are in there can be alerted. But yeah, that's important, Neil. That's momentum is critical to keeping everyone engaged, because otherwise people get bored. I mean, I check in on hips that I care about once a week, and I'm sure most people barely look at them. But I check in on those channels just to see if anything's come up, and I'm amazed that there's nothing in there most of the time, especially on things like 5G. But yeah, that's a really important point, Neil. Thanks for that. And we can, as a group, coordinate and affect more change on those things than we can individually. It's another thing that we can, down the line, as a group, we can start to maybe affect a bit more change on how Helium handle things like that. It's really interested to, been thinking.
Yeah, I'm trying. Trust me, I'm trying. I had a meeting on Friday, and the first thing I said is they asked if we wanted to record the Zoom or not, and I said please record it, publish it, and then I've just said the same thing, that please publish these changes, please show that there's work moving on, and let people have the discussion on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think there was a lot of the questions that everyone's been asking about 5G. Boris answered in that document, and it was great to get those answers. It's really gonna, I mean, this is important for growth of the network that people have those answers to those questions. So yeah, I mean, as a group, if we can support you in that, Neil, let us know, and the things that we can do to help move those things to be a bit more positive. But yeah. 2 weeks as a deadline. Everyone's happy with that. I'll just take it as a yes if consensus by Hamming, as long as no one objects.
I think 2 weeks is good, especially as long as we maintain an option for the community to say, you know what, I don't like these options. Maybe work on them more.
Yeah, and we're going to come back with findings, and we're going to say, okay, well, this is what we found. Are we ready? Do we think this is the right time? And just this last week, obviously, it seems like we're getting a bit of attention. I don't know why Frank Monk's got a pirate hat on, but I'll take it. You never know what's going to happen. There's more interest happening every day. So Pretty. You never know what's going to be the case in 2 weeks, but 2 weeks, great. I love that. And really, I think we can just get going in the channels. Obviously, we've what 11 here now, and 4, 12, 13.
I think the one thing missing from that document is growth of the DAO, promotion, membership, growing membership. There's not much of us at the moment, so it'd be good to have a bigger group for sure.
Yeah, I think, and it's the kind of growth we want, because I think one thing we've got to be careful of is, especially when it comes to talking about membership, is if the membership is too empowered and it takes all the membership to decide to do something, then you're creating some friction. So you got to be real careful about. A DAO is decentralized, and we that's the intention the whole way along. But it seems like, from what I've read, is that it's a progressive decentralization. We start pretty central, and we go as we get better at it. We can decentralize more. But at the early stages, probably a small core membership is smart, just to keep decision making quick. But growth, that's a really important point, because I don't know what other people's feelings are. I think there's the DAO, and if we do the sub DAOs for mining pools, those folks can vote on what that bit of the sub DAO is doing. Completely, absolutely, they should be able to. It shouldn't rely on membership. That's their money stream. They should be able to control it. But at the top end, I think that needs to be smaller, just because it just makes more sense. But growth, yes, important one. Any others missing on there that we should consider? Any other topics?
I wanted to add, and this is a sub of growth, but one of the challenges of this space is DEI, just making sure that we are not uniform in our representation, so that we can take advantage of the fact that there's areas of need, and we want to be helpful doing that. Yeah.
I think, there's lots of ways that unintentional harms can come out from what happens in this particular world of crypto and Web3 and whatever else. And everyone goes in with the best of intentions, but not everyone always thinks, should we do this? And sometimes the answer is no. But I'm very hot on that shit. I'm not a crypto maxi. I'm not a VC maxi. I am a realist. I've come to DAOs because it's the best way to handle this, not because it's the coolest Web3 thing. And I think we're all kind of on that. We're similar in that respect. But DEI, I think that also comes under mission. I don't know what you think about that, Adam, because if we get the mission, start talking about what Pirate Radio does, then we build things in there that talk about our commitment to equitable growth. I know it's important to a lot of us.
Yeah, equitable in a lot of ways also doesn't necessarily have to mean what it means in context to the world when they use that word. It's, like you were saying about decision making being coming. The flip side of that is, if you have a problem, like if there is something that somebody objects to, it should be built into the DNA of what we're doing here, that your problem has to come with a solution, right? So that you can object, but your objection must be paired with a solution. And I think one of the things I've seen that gets, and I don't have as much experience as you guys do in this, but in sitting through 12 or 15 of these different channels, watching them play out, there's no end to the number of people who will object to the way things are done, but that doesn't qualify you to derail the process. No. If you have a problem, you have to present, it's on you to present the solution that you're proposing as the tributary. And you guys came up with a great solution to this that I would never have thought of, which is that this part up here can say, this is the way we're going. And somebody says, well, I would like it to be this way. And they form that sub DAO for that particular mission, for that voyage. But that's still a solution. It's not derailing, as as Neil said. Like, you can get caught in this loop where perfect is the enemy of the good. You guys said that a lot last week. And so in reading about this and watching these other channels with some projects that crashed into shore, to keep the metaphor going, I can see that their ideas are good and the objections they have are valid, but then no one says anything and nothing moves forward, and next thing you know, the whole thing is crashed.
Yeah.
So you can object, that's fair, but if you don't have a solution, then you're talking to yourself, basically. And I think that kind of harshness is sometimes missing from these discussions about every voice matters, and
Yeah. I think one of the things that is important at keeping those things moving, and where I've seen, if at the very, if within the mission it says, with a bias to action, everything is with a bias to action. It's not a bias to discussion. This is a bias to doing things. There can be places, I think, and over time, I generally think this is how it'll work, is you'll end up with kind of an elected body who runs it from the membership, who run the day-to-day, who maybe are even paid by the DAO, who are, we don't want to run countries. We want to exist in them, be able to earn a living, have a house, not be shot by someone from a neighboring country, right? But we don't actively manage it all day, every day. We only engage with it when we need to. So, and I think, the discussions that are happening out there right now amongst people who are talking about the people side of Web3 and DAOs is very much that's probably the best way to deal with it, because it's how we've found the best way in the past. Politics is politics, and we no need to get into it yet. But I think Adam makes a good point. You can object but bring a solution, and if we always have a bias to action, then the action in that case is resolve, right? But if the mission says our bias is always to action, then whatever the goal may be, everyone understands that we're always trying to get to whatever the goal is, even if it's a conflict resolution goal.
And the fact that you create a vehicle for these splits, for these forks, where if somebody really feels strongly that this is the way they want to go, they have the opportunity to experiment with their own voyage. I thought that was really smart how you guys walked and talked through all that. A Sub DAO setup where you could have a break off of these people strongly feel that this is the way to go, so let them do it. I mean, that makes sense to me, as opposed to I feel strongly and here's my solution, and somebody disagrees, and then it derails the main mission. Because again, these are silly little things I'm watching in the other channels and just reading through the correspondence. That is, at this stage, at least from what I've seen, the most likely way that this crashes.
Yeah. It'll be, once we start churning some cash, it'll help. Bias to action, equity. Anything else that's going to be important in the mission? Think of word cloud kind of stuff now. What do we, do
I
we
actually
need
just want to bring up. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Good morning. Sorry.
Hey, Dennis.
Morning, guys. How are you guys? I actually wanted to bring something up, and I like what Neil mentioned, is that with helium, the hits are taking to even make any. So I never said I never thought I would ever do this, but I was looking up how pirate ships used to work, and there was always accountability. Like, there was a captain, but everybody else kind of took a lead. Wasn't, how can I say it? You couldn't just be a crew member and just kind of not do anything. So there was always, you have to maintain updates with the captain, and things needed to be done. So what I was thinking is, with a DAO, like our Sub DAO, there has to be some types of punishments. For example, let's say that my Sub DAO, we requested 10, let's just say 10 free to fly gateways from the DAO community. If we do not make a move and use those 10 gateways, or have a proposal for using those 10 gateways, those 10 gateways can get removed from us and put back into the DAO as kind of a punishment.
So you're saying that if, hang on, let me get this straight. So if someone stakes their hardware,
Mm-hmm.
and
then a Sub DAO says, hey, I need 10 units. And if that Sub DAO doesn't use those 10 units within a X amount of time, they get removed from that Sub DAO and put back into the DAO.
Yeah, into the general pool. Yeah.
And I think that's exactly right. Like, you've got the problem. I said I want this. Here's the solution. You have a set time that you agree on with the mothership, and then you're saying, well, you didn't do it. So it expired and they come back. And you also have to charge. And speaking to this exact issue, if you held that equipment for a month and didn't do anything, and you didn't execute, if it was a real pirate ship, you would pay for the use of that time. You owe money back in, or tokens back in, or work back in. If you were sick on a ship and you missed a couple of days, you had to do double duty. These are like the way it works. And I love that idea, Dennis. It's super important because that enforces the bias to action.
Correct. So I understand that, oh, hey, look, this building is still being under construction. Like, you got to bring it up. But I love the fact that, you need to be updated. We can't just be like, oh, hey, it's being up, it's constructions are running late. I'm just not going to tell anybody and then just sit on this hardware. I'll be like, hey, look, this is what's happening. Show proof that, hey, the construction work instead of take another month. Bring that up to the DAO. The DAO will understand, and then if not, get your hardware taken away.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying. That not only enforces the bias to action, but it also forces more transparency within sub DAOs. That way, everyone can see and understand what exactly is going on, even if you're not boots on the ground in that area.
So what would that look like? Would it basically be like some sort of smart contract? Like, is that built into the software? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, more than likely. I think I'm muted. I think there's a lot of different ways we could do the mining pools. Hardware could be staked directly into that sub DAO, or it could be staked into the main one and made available to sub DAOs. There's a whole different bunch of ways to do that, but I think what the DAO would create is, okay, this is how mining pools are done. And if someone wanted to copy that, fork that, take it somewhere else, go for it. Totally fine. This is for everyone to use. But I think for creating these pools, you need some smart contracts that are very explicit and simple to begin with. Whether all the equipment staked in the main DAO and then is separated out into sub DAOs, and that's more efficient, or they're staked directly into the sub DAOs. I think that's a big discussion for later, maybe, or ongoing while we're doing the how do we DAO. But yeah, it's an interesting one, and it's a good point, Dennis. And I like the idea of saying, yeah, don't, you have to utilize it or it comes back. And the same thing, right? Like, if someone's committed to install 5 hotspots over a particular period of time, and they're in that sub DAO and they're one of the installers and they've only done 3, then the other 2 have to come back, or there's a discussion. How come it was only 3? You know, what can we do to help you get to 5? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is something I was actually thinking about a lot over the past week. The way I was kind of thinking that this could potentially work is you could choose to stake to a specific sub DAO or pool. If not, it defaults to the whole organization. And then if a certain sub DAO or pool requests more like physical hardware, they would be able to request that from the whole unit, from the whole DAO. Otherwise, they just have available to them what was staked specifically to them.
Yeah. But I like that. I like this idea of things having a time limit, because our mission is to optimize, right? Our mission is to optimize for everyone in that pool. And underutilized gear is not optimized.
There's also a method and means that from my previous life to basically create a key. So you can't unlock the hardware until you have a notice to proceed package that has a checklist. So the sub DAO has to complete that checklist. I have a fully executed contract. I have, you know, validation from the network team that this is a wise place to put it. Like all those things are checklists that we used to do before we release equipment from the warehouse. The same thing is true in this little subgroup, that you could, it'll also prevent that equipment from not being utilized, because if somebody says I request 10 and I have a month, you run the risk that you have to repossess that equipment. Whereas if you have a key that everybody agrees these are the criteria for releasing this hardware, now you have to deploy it. All that's left is execution, as opposed to validating and having to pour through all the data to see whether or not it's true, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think qualifying installs and locations. This is where there's already a lot of experience in the group of people assessing whether it's a good place to put it or not. I think, you know, we're not too skinny on that. People being able to say yes, no. We've got plenty of folks who understand what's good and what's not. But one thing I've been thinking about in that area is templating. Like if we're going to be dealing with in sub days rolling out 200 hotspots on roofs, that's 200 enclosures, 200 antennas, 200, you know. It's do we standardize an outdoor kit? Is it just an outdoor kit? The Pirate Radio says, bam, that's the one we use. That's where we get it. You know, the bundle is $80.
Yeah, that would allow the most efficiency within deployment to just have a standardized process. Obviously, there could be outliers, like if you're trying to put a miner like 40 meters in the air because it's on top of a skyscraper, you might have to look at using possibly a different antenna or something. But definitely keeping a standardized protocol for the catch all, and then just deviating from it if certain conditions are met.
Yeah. The one thing I was thinking about for install sign off. So let's just say there's a, you know, let's just say the installer gets a $300 release as soon as an installer sign off. Just for example, may or may not do that. But
are you saying it's completed?
Yeah. So it's up. It's on the chain. It's synced. It's, you know, we can do the remote checks of, is this hotspot doing its thing? But then there's also a couple of photographs of, like, you've got to photograph this thing and show how it's been installed. And someone from the main DAO or another sub DAO says, who is also an installer, just goes through the list of, these are installs that have been done today. Yep, that looks good. That looks good. That looks good. And you have the authority. You know, there's a group of 12 people who can just go through that list and go bam, 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 bam. Yes, those are good. Let them go. So I think, you know, there's lots of things we can do in that area to remove friction. But I think the big thing is you know, remove as much friction as possible, because right now that's what's causing all these clusters of hotspots. Yeah, these are all great ideas. Love it. Anyone else got anything on mining pools? How do people feel about in that mining pool? My feeling is that if you're in the pool, everyone just gets a share based on how many tokens they have in that pool, and a token is either a hotspot, an install, or a location.
I absolutely think that's a great way to start.
Is the three-way split too little for each, or like are people gonna, I mean, we'll find out. People will stake or not stake, right? They can make a decision. We can give them the rules, and then they can decide. We can ask. We'll find out how popular it is by how many people stake, I guess. But
Well,
I'd be happy. I'd be happy staking my spare sense caps on that basis personally.
Right. There needs to be a percent that's for the DAO as well, right? Like, how would that be split up?
Good question. Stuff we've got to figure out, right? That's
Yeah.
once
So
we've got the DAO, then we can set those rules. But I put some stuff out there, and what did I put? I put 30-30 or something 10. 30-30-10 for the DAO. The DAO gets something for administering everything and creating the smart contracts, right? Like there's going to be no pool unless the DAO writes the smart contracts, and we have to develop them. Which takes us to shared wallets. And there isn't one for Helium. Is it even possible to make one? Developers in the room, can we make a shared wallet for Helium?
You can make a multi-sig wallet on Helium.
You can?
Yeah. Yeah, command line interface has stuff for multi-sig.
Love it. I mean, I think it makes sense in mining pools to just use a multi-sig HNT wallet. If we do that, we can skirt all the legal and financial bullshit, because that's an investment club at that point. That keeps those really simple. Interesting. So do they work just like the Gnosis type multi-sig wallets, I'm guessing? Or Genosis? I don't know how you pronounce it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't actually used them personally, but we could play around with them.
It's MFN, so you can create however many you want and require how many to sign it. So it's good. It's not used,
one of the things actually someone in the room might know. Of all the sort of platforms out there, I mean, I'm a bit of a fan of Hotspotty. I'm just one I spend a bit of time in, and Helium Vision and a few others. When it comes to staking a location, is there a way that we can, integrate with something where Hotspotty have, where you can add an address where you want to put something in, or one of those other platforms? It doesn't have to be Hotspotty, but one of the other sort of third-party tools out there where you can actually put an address in and say, this is mine. Is that something we should be integrating with, or is that something we should be building? I don't want to replicate stuff that people have already done.
If you're talking about like basic tests, then Vision's probably the best because it's cloud RF, but they've also got the building layers and things. But you could do line of sight studies and free space path loss and automate it all.
Yeah.
But
this was more.
My concern is that these are all simulations and they're crap.
Yeah. I mean, all simulations are 50% accurate.
He's talking about more like reserve a hex type thing.
So if I said, okay, well, I want to put this on Clos Brynnyddol in Welshpool in Wales, that's where I'm going to put this miner. That's, my brother's house is there. That's where I'm going to put it. How do we, as a DAO, tie that location into a Helium wallet when it's not that person who has that hotspot, who has a hotspot there? They don't own the hotspot. That hotspot owner still owns the hotspot, right? It's just something to think about, is how we allow people to say, this is the location I'm putting into the pool.
We would either need to wait for Hotspotty to publish a public API, or we would have to build it, I think.
Right. But there may be something in a Helium Explorer or something that we can tap into in an API, or we could pull in. But anyway, it's something to think about. That was one on my mind. And my general feeling was that in these pools, it's just the pool is optimized, and if the pool makes $1 million, and there's 100 people in the pool that year, everyone gets their equal share of it. It doesn't, whether if your hotspot made, $250,000 of those dollars or $10,000 of those dollars, you still get an equal share because you've staked to the pool, right? That's what I expect the pool to do. I don't know how other people feel about that.
The 30-30, whatever, 30-30-10 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So, okay.
My general feeling was like we talked about last week. There's a difference between putting money into this thing, get your share of what you put in, right? So I'm not just saying that whoever puts the most in gets the most, but if I've spent every waking hour on this project and grown it to a size, I should have a proportional reward from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Everyone, I think, the location owner and the hotspot owner, there's been, obviously everyone has different models for that in their sort of commercial areas, but, I see them as very interdependent, so they're kind of balanced. And then, so it was, I think, 30 hotspot, 30 location, 30 for the Sub DAO management, 10 for the main DAO, but it could be 20 for the Sub DAO management, 10 for the main DAO. And, like I say, this is all stuff that would have to be decided on by the group, and that's where governance comes in. And it's like, as soon as it's deciding about money and who gets what when, that's when governance is important. And I think, those decisions about how we do that can be made when we've got governance. But because it's definitely going to be a lot of people need to weigh in on that one. We need to listen to the community. Cool. Where are we at? Ooh, 50 minutes. We've done a lot. So in terms of getting started, has anyone got anything they want to talk about in terms of the sort of Shipyard working group stuff, which is, governments and people, funding, platform, growth, anything they want to talk about and get kicked off now in advance of sort of getting stuck in and getting into the channels? The only question is going to be, actually forget that. We'll get back to that. But yeah, has anyone got anything they want to sort of bring up and talk about on the sort of working group side right now?
I kind of just, it's not really a question. It's kind of, what do you think we should focus on first? Like how we had the vote for, should we create a working group? Like what should be the first thing that the working group, in your opinion, should do? Like what should we focus on next? What's our next vote per se?
Yeah. I mean, the next vote is in, a couple of weeks when the working group has come back and given its findings on the various sort of streams that we've got there, which is, governments and people, funding, platform, and then growth. The most important ones, governance and people and platform. But I think platform, we've kind of already decided. The consensus, I think, here is we don't want to spend 10 grand spinning up a DAO on ETH. So we're going to do it on Sol. And I'm sure I'm not the only person who, has heard the talk about a Sol HNT bridge. So it seems to make a lot of sense to me. And if we're going to integrate things like NFTs and some form of membership, Solana's a much better platform for doing that. I know we've got Adams, we've got Unite in the room, who's got a lot of experience with the NFT space. And we've had a couple of chats this week. And the other thing, just if anyone out of interest, the quality of pirate art NFTs, fucking terrible. There's nothing good to buy. I'm literally the first customer, and I couldn't find a single pirate-based NFT I wanted this week. I was determined to buy one.
It's funny you mentioned that. We didn't talk. It's funny you mentioned that. You didn't talk about it, but this is random and an offshoot, so I apologize because we've been so on mission today. But I own a bunch of witches from the Crypto Coven group,
Uh-huh.
and there's by pure accident, just being in both Discord channels, the way that everybody here talks is very similar. And I was gonna throw it out there, and again, this is later because this is like decoration, right? So painting the side of the boat before the boat is built seemed premature. um, but the art is beautiful. I mean, it really is beautiful. And Crypto Coven. I think that if I reach out to some of the moderators there, just personality wise, I mean, witches and pirates seem like they go together, but really it's the quality of the art that impressed me so much. So just something to throw out there. It's not like I have like I mean, I can just reach out to them later. This is a more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adam, I'm part of Crypto Coven as well. And yeah, man. So yeah, I mean, my background's like in fine art, digital art, marketing, brand. So like, obviously, I'm here because JR is the fucking shit, and I think this is gonna be awesome. But I know nothing else except for he's sending me a minor, and I'm gonna try and figure this shit out. And I live in the middle of nowhere, so I want mobile service here. But anyways, no, like if you guys are down for NFTs, you want to explore that, talk about that, a strategy around that, totally down. It obviously brings a lot of fun to any sort of project in DAO. To Adam, what he's saying, Crypto Coven they're not about flipping. They're not about like trying to sell it. They're trying to build a community. Their whole thing is around a bunch of stuff and mental health. So yeah, there could be a fun storyline there. Witches and pirates, some, if that's really truly, if there's going to be like a fun, it's like Treasure DAO, right? It's like what they're doing where they've got this whole thing. They're trying to come up with like the decentralized Nintendo, but they've got a whole crazy thing going on with their NFTs that are just skyrocketing. But yeah, anyways, whenever the time comes to talk about it and dive in and, I can help oversee artwork and production because I've been doing that for 15 years anyways. But yeah, cool you brought Crypto Coven. Very, very in sync on that.
Yeah, I also have background in computer-aided design and animation too, so I can help out with that if needed.
Perfect.
Look at that. Yeah, it's an area that I've kind of not ignored, but because I've been like down the rabbit hole on so many other things, I've just kind of let that noise pass me by, and I feel kind of weird now that I don't own a single one. But I'm going to try and change that.
I don't own one. You're not alone. Don't worry. I don't own an
Okay. Good. It makes me feel less old and crap. Multitasking isn't my skill. Right. Okay. Governance people. Okay. So in terms of, I think in the main channel, if anyone wants to, we'll start sort of talking about what we're going to work on, the specific parts of the various tasks that we've got going, and we can split off, contribute to what we want. I'll probably start threads for each. In the main public channel that everyone can respond to, and then once we've got folks who said, "Yeah, I want to talk governance," we'll add them to the governance channel. That's so that they can so that those folks can chat in there. Does that seem like a good way to get everyone sort of sorted? There's self-sorting going on. Cool. I want to be help with all if I can, but. Except maybe funding. Money isn't my thing. But yeah, anything else for this week? We're coming up on an hour. Try and keep them to an hour. I think is smart. It's a Saturday. Anyone got anything else? Going once, going twice. Awesome. As you guys, everyone, you guys rock. I'm still amazed that this is happening. Sometimes I pinch myself a couple of times a week. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, really exciting, and yeah, 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we'll be talking about go no go, based on the findings of what we're going to do in the working group over the next couple of weeks. Obviously, we're all keen to get things moving, so I'm not worried about momentum, and yeah, exciting times. If anyone ever wants to chat, ping me anytime. I'm always happy to jump on calls, Discord, Zoom, whatever, and I'm sure we'll probably end up with little groups chatting and little Zooms going on in these little bits of the working group path. So yeah, onward. All right, folks, give yourselves another round of applause.
I mute myself.
Great vote, great action. Love it. We will see you in the Discord. Have a great weekend.
Later, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good weekend.
That concludes the meeting this week. So I'll be back next week.